Watch High and Outside with Malik Wright and Dante Miles every Sunday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on Facebook Live.
That's a nice what's up with, man? What's up? Welcome to episode 8 of the High and Outside podcast. Malik Wright and Dante Miles, MLBBro.com writers. We're going to give you all the rundown on what happened throughout the world of baseball this week. But let's start off with my favorite thing I saw today. Daz Cameron, son of Mike Cameron, robbed a home run, went over a damn near 10-foot wall, 10-foot wall to get it earlier today against the Guardians.
Into deep center field. Cameron still going back. He leaps and he's got it up against the wall. Daz Cameron stole it and turns it into a double play.
And he made sure to get 2 on it, man.
Was that special?
Love to see guys like that playing out in Detroit. I know Badu's down, so he gets a chance to actually get to play. You see Derek Hill in center a lot, but even talking about his dad, Mike, he's had a lot of good things about him. What's your favorite Mike Cameron memory?
My favorite Mike Cameron memory actually happened against, as everybody knows, I'm a White Sox fan. But he came and he had 4 home runs. And like his return to Chicago, he played for Seattle. This is when he was a Mariner. And, bro, like, that was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. This is back when I was a kid. So, like, even though we lived through the steroid era, seeing somebody come up and hit 4 home runs, bro, like, that was insane. So, like, that's probably my Mike Cameron biggest memory from him.
Yeah, I don't know if I can even remember anybody being at a game where anybody's hit more than 2. But I remember like I told you, my memory from Mike Cameron's playing 2K baseball on the Wii. But let's get it started here on the High and Outside podcast with the biggest topic of conversation this weekend: Tim Anderson versus Josh Donaldson. Let's take you back. What was it? About not even 2 weeks ago, Donaldson blocks him from boxing the base, which on a play, I thought that was just kind of, like happenstance,
Yeah, that's just baseball. Like, that wasn't an issue for me, but
then fast forward, TA had something to say to him when he was coming across the field, and it's apparent, it was admitted by both of them that Donaldson said, "Hey, what's up, Jackie?" They got into a little beef argument, and then this is Yasmani Grandal catcher when he came up to bat. Had a few words for him. I'll let you go first, man. What do you think about the whole situation?
Yeah, I mean, with all of the stuff happening with Josh Donaldson, like, this is a guy this happens with all the time. Like, we know his track record. I mean, for him, he pretty much told himself at the end of the game when he said, he tried to say it was an inside joke, but they don't like each other. So how is this an inside joke? So he was full of it for that. Like, Liam Hendricks called him out about that today. But I really appreciate Grandal stepping up, and that's what you need as a teammate. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously, the league has been real sensitive with Tim Anderson, and he gets, they try to suspend him and fine him a lot. So for Yasmani to step up, let it be known, like, hey, we're not gonna tolerate that. Like, you really appreciate that, and like, so I really didn't like was a lot of the, like, this is one of those moments where, like, people being fans steps into reality, because you had a lot of Yankee fans trying to justify what Donaldson said and say, oh, it's a compliment if you compare him to Jackie and blah, blah, blah. Or you have people, like, taking it out of context saying, oh, well, he compared himself to Jackie Robinson, and knowing damn well that's not what he was talking about when Josh Donaldson called him Jackie. So, like, it's little microaggressions like that we as Black people have to, deal with. And so as a player, saying this is stuff Tim probably deals with all the time. And so to see his teammates come out, step up, even Tony La Russa, with his history, but Tony came out and said, no, that's not gonna happen. Like, no, like, we're gonna stand up for our guy, and they've done that. And so, like I said, as far as Josh Donaldson, he's been a clown for a while, so that's nothing new. But you really love to see the White Sox and the entire team come step up and say, no, we're not gonna tolerate that, because that's what you need. Like, we as Black people, we do enough arguing and fighting for for this stuff. So you need people to say, like, yo, that's it. Like, we're not doing this. So, I appreciated that.
You said a lot, and you hit it right on the head. And the main thing I want to point out is context. Did he call him Jackie after he tackled him at third base? Did he say it right there? And Josh Donaldson, I try to like the dude. He plays some hard baseball. You know what I'm saying?
He could play. Like, that's never been an issue.
He's a good part of that Yankees team. I remember back when he was on the Blue Jays, even when he was one of the most hated players going against the Rangers. He always put up some tough at bats. But I mean, you just got to keep everything in context. But you said it all. TA got a game. He got a game for flipping his bat. So we'll see how long Manfred, if any team, MLB said they're going to investigate. We'll see how long, if any, Manfred gives them. But let's move on to some heartbreaking news, man. New York Mets pitcher Max Scherzer out 6 to 8 weeks. Oblique strain. He's never dealt with this in his career. Second big blow for the Mets. They already have the ground down. Do you think that I know they have Bassett. I know they still got Carrasco, but how bad do you think losing obviously an ace like Max hurts?
I know anytime you lose somebody with that much talent, it definitely hurts. So you're like, you don't replace a guy like Max Scherzer. You try to like stay afloat. Like if you can get a guy that can go, 3-3 or 4-4 and however many starts he's gonna have to make in Max's absence. And so it's terrible. And like you said, with a guy who you said that's why you brought him in. That's why you gave him top dollar, to be your ace, to add him to that stable with DeGrom. So now Tawan Walker, I'm not sure. I had to check on the update on him, but that entire pitching staff is just more weight that's being passed around, and who's going to have to shoulder that burden. So the Mets have been playing well, but lately they've started to come back a little to reality, and this is only going to make it worse.
Yeah, and the end of Taijuan Walker's season last year wasn't the strongest, but he was an all-star to start the year off. I believe he's just returned from dealing with a few injuries, but it's scary to me. I know he's a tough dude, but for him to take himself out of the game, a dude like that, a dog like that, it just gives me a few worries. But the Mets have been able to stay afloat. Starling Marte with what he dealt with this week, they got a big walk-off from Pete Alonso, so we'll see how long they can carry in that NL East. But
real quick, like I feel you when you say it's scary, because like these type of injuries in baseball, it reminds me of like in basketball when guys go down from non-contact injuries, like, and they just wave it off. Like that's like pitchers, when anytime a pitcher, like I said, doesn't get hit by a comebacker or something, he throws a pitch and just like, nah, I can't.
That's late game. This is late game Max Scherzer against Albert Pujols, 1-run game, and he's like, nah, yeah, I'm out of here, bro. So I feel you with that. I hope he's good. Judging by the time of that, though, it'd just be around the All-Star break, but they're going to need him if they want to win a World Series. I want to move on, though, to a big question I have. Did the Twins make a mistake dropping down Royce Lewis? Man hit 308, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, stellar on defense. Correa came back from the IL, and they sent him down. I know he's getting the chance to play shortstop down in the minor leagues, but do you think they're going to end up regretting not having him get full big league playing time?
I think they will, because you definitely you need to put your best. I'm always going to be team. Put your best talent on the field. So if you got to put him in second base for a minute, because let's be real, Carlos Correa is not going to stay there. Like next year, Lewis probably will be the starting shortstop in Minnesota. But if you really want to compete for the division, really want to make something happen, why would you take a guy who has come in and really done it, exceeded the expectations of a rookie? Why are you dropping him down? Like just off to say you want him to play, and they said they want him to play consistently. But even Buxton and Correa, they both said that was tough. That was tough on the locker room.
I mean, go down, and I had to do a check of the Twins lineup today, and I look around that name, and it's about 5-6 names in that lineup that aren't better than Royce Lewis. I know you're saying you got Correa, you got Buxton. You got Urshela. That's a superstar lineup, I think, to me. You had a guy like Royce Lewis who's hot. I just don't understand it. I do want to bring in my guy David Grubb out of New Orleans real quick to give his take on Royce Lewis being dropped down. What's going on, Dave? I'm gonna throw you into the fire. Quick. Pinch hit you. I got hurt. 0-2 count.
Right.
What you think about the Twins dropping down Royce Lewis?
I think it's short-sighted. I think you had a player who was starting to get comfortable, and like you said, there's an impact that you get energy in a locker room that needed it. Needs positive things going on. I think that you don't. You play your best players. I think that's absolutely correct. You always play your best players. You figure it out. I always think of what Bobby Knight said the year Michael Jordan was drafted, and they were talking about Portland didn't need another guard because they already had drafted Clyde Drexler, and he's like, play Michael Jordan at center, whatever. So it's like you take the best player. And
Yeah.
I think that's always the case. If you don't leave talent down in the minors when it can be helping you today. And I know it's all the contract stuff and all those things that managers think about, but I don't want to see somebody get, lose their job. I don't want to see a team lose games because of a decision that doesn't really make sense. It's not a baseball decision. Make baseball decisions and then see where the chips fall.
Yeah, well, like I said, we'll see if they come to regret it. They got a little lead in the Central right now, but Sox might heat up after tonight's game. But I want to move on to two people who had some of the most fire weeks of the season. Trevor Story, quiet for the Red Sox all week, busted out 3 home runs in one game, then bounced off the next game, hit a grand slam, 5 home runs in a series. Just real quick, Dante, if a guy like Story's hot, we were just talking about if the Red Sox are bad, would they trade Xander last week? But if Story stays hot, what's the ceiling for Boston?
Yeah, I mean, I think Boston can still contend in that division. I don't got to worry about that pitching right now. But my thing with Trevor Story, because you know me, I'm tough on Trevor Story. I was always telling people, look at his splits outside of Coors. Like, look at every part of his game. He really struggled away from Colorado, so that I wasn't big on this signing. But if he's able to, get hot, really add to that lineup, I think you definitely see them competing for. I think right now, the Blue Jays, I know we all bought into the hype, but right now they haven't looked good. So, the Yankees are on fire. They've been playing really well. So that wild card spot, they'll definitely be able to compete for that. But, it has to be consistency. We talk about it every week. Like, if he does this for, like you said, he had a hot week. If he's hot for a month, that's cool. But, you're going to need more from Trevor Story because, with Raphael and everybody else, like you said, Xander, especially with, I know he's there now, but when a guy that shuts down contract talk and I want to see how he reacts to that and how he continues to play for the rest of the season. So you're gonna need a lot more from Trevor Story. So this is good. This is a good start, especially based on how he started the season. But I just need to see more.
Yeah, and he came to Texas. He was here last Sunday, and he was just talking about the adjustment he had to make playing second base. It was the lockout, so he didn't get a chance to sign. He didn't know what position he was playing. I know he signed the contract to play second base, so you don't like to hear those excuses. But if he can get that defensive side down, I think that's going to help him a lot too. I want to move on, though, to a guy out the National League, Mookie Betts, 357, 821 slugging percentage, 3 home runs. He basically won the game for them in last night's game against the Phillies. Dave, when Mookie's playing like he does, are there any players better than him?
No, I mean, when he's at the top of his game, this is why he's an MVP. This is why he was, so integral to the Dodgers becoming elite again. He's the engine. He does the whatever they need him to do. If there's a big defensive play, he can do that. If it's base running, he can do that. We saw him play multiple positions last season. When he's hitting, he can hit for a high average. He can hit for power. We know he can hit as a clutch hitter as well. So what doesn't he bring to the table when he's on? And that's the thing. If he's healthy and he's on, you can't name, 4 more impactful ball players on a day-to-day basis. You can't. I mean, there are guys who you might say, oh, he's a more powerful hitter, or this guy's a more, dangerous. But as far as doing everything for your team, like if you need a stolen base, he can go get that. If you need him to go, if there's a catch to save the game, he can provide that. Whatever if you need him to throw somebody out from the outfield, he can do that. So how many other players in all of the big leagues? You talking maybe Mike Trout and, you know what I'm saying? Like who can do everything that Mookie Betts can do when he's on?
And it's crazy. It's so weird hearing him talk. And he said last night, yeah, I just don't got the Jets no more. I'm a little sluggish from earlier in his career. I don't see it. And maybe, it's selective now. Maybe he's just smarter with the body. But, man, Mookie's on fire. He's been tearing it up for the last month. He actually entered the top 10 hitter rankings that we talk about. And just a quick mention that Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton have also joined that list. J.P. Crawford fell off a little from last time, as did Jazz, but we'll see if we get them back in there. But this is what we brought Dave in for. I wanted to hear our guys come up with an all MLB team. I'm not saying these are the best players at their position. We're not saying they're the worst, but they're just some guys we think need shout out. and we're going to field these guys for a winning ball club. So I'm going to let you go first, Dave.
All right, well, for my starting pitcher, it's Tristan Mckenzie. He's not getting the most notoriety because Cleveland is a bad team. The Guardians are not that great. But you look at his numbers and what he's able to do as a starting pitcher in the American League at his age. Again, the amount of inexperience that he had coming into this season, he just looks the part of a number one starter. He's showing you the things that you want to see: the competitive fire, the array of pitches, the ability to make people miss. That's how you win in the postseason. So I think he's a guy that you can build a staff around. So he's the young pitcher that I enjoy watching as much as anybody. I mean, certainly we could talk about other bros that have been and certain pitchers across major leagues, but Tristan Mckenzie feels like he's next. You know what I'm saying? As far as pitchers on the cusp of breaking out, he feels like that one. Then at shortstop is still Tim Anderson. I mean, I think Tim Anderson at shortstop, he's in the mix for MVP. What he does is it sets the tone for everything that the White Sox want to do and want to be. And I think you see how valuable he is. I'll put it to you like this. Tony La Russa, when he got there in Chicago, he wasn't acting like that was Tim Anderson's team.
They have to learn how to get out of
You know what I'm saying? He was acting like he could run this and he was going to get Tim Anderson in line. Now you got La Russa backing Tim Anderson up in a way that none of us would have ever expected. Tony La Russa, who I don't consider a progressive person. I don't consider somebody who would be stepping up for black folks in general. But he's out there telling you that he's standing behind Tim Anderson on this. That tells you who's the heartbeat of this team. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
there isn't a shortstop. You know, Jazz is not as consistent. And I think nobody lives bigger in the bigger moments than Tim does. And again, he's a 5-tool guy at that position, and his impact as a player. Like, he just makes things happen because of him. The game changes because he's there. Just his presence, and that's one of those rare qualities to have. And then last in the outfield, give props to George Springer, man. That dude. You know, last year you saw how much he was missed in Toronto. And when he played, his numbers were crazy. And now he's back and he's producing really solid numbers again. And I just want to see if he can maintain that. And if Toronto's going to turn it around. And if they do, he's going to be right in the middle of that.
Byron Buxton type impact with George Springer. He's probably played a few games over the last few years, but he is one of those dudes that go back and forth for injury. I think this is a George Springer catch we have planned for y'all right here. He had earlier this week.
Left center field, long run, Springer.
He just makes it look so easy. And I swear, over the last 5-10 years, he probably has the most. Buxton may be close, but he probably has the most diving, home run robbery, just crazy catches you'll ever see. Dante, let's move on to your three players.
All right, real quick. As far as second baseman goes, I always got to shout out Jose Altuve. Like, he's really elite, and he's one of those guys. He's a fun hitter to watch because, and usually, a guy when he's a short stature, they say that, the strike zone shrinks. But you see Jose, like, when he's on, Jose's hitting anything. Like, it could be at his eyes, and he's putting it in those Crawford boxes. Like, that's a guy who I really like watching. He's hitting 367 over his last 7 games. He's really been doing this thing. And one thing that's really been dope to see as far as his game overall is, like, he's really become, a high slugging, high power hitting guy. When he was originally came in, he was just more so just a base hits, doubles, that type of thing. But he's really added to his game. He's been big on, exit velo, launch angle, all that. And he's added that to his game, and he is, in my opinion, the best second baseman in the game. Third baseman.
Just to interrupt, he took our dude Taylor Horn to the Crawford boxes in the first to lead off the game early today.
You've seen it early and often with Jose. Like, when he's on, like, that's really that's a crazy weapon to have at the top of your lineup. And my third baseman, I got to go out to Pittsburgh, Brian Hayes, bro. I think he really has star potential, like in the same sense that we talk about Tim Anderson. I know lately he's been having a lot of bad luck, and what I mean by that is like he's hitting the ball hard, he's barreling the ball up, but he's like hitting it right at people, and like he's making outs on balls that normally would be hit. So like I think that'll turn around. But even with that, he's still hitting 275, which is very respectable. But the power just hasn't been there for him. But I think that'll get there. And so I think that's a guy at third base that we always got to look at. And, last but not least, like I know we always try to shout out the bros and brown people, but you got to talk about the guy, Mike Trout, like the best center fielder in the game, the best center fielder I've seen in a very long time. Like when he's healthy, he is elite. Like the only knock you can ever have. And I don't really call it a knock because guys don't get hurt on purpose, but when he's not available, but when he's there, he is elite. He's the best player in the game. And so, we may finally get an opportunity to see him in the playoffs. That's something we've still never seen. So we can get him into the playoffs. That's something that I think will be good for the game of baseball, because it's impossible to say that you're trying to really market your game and like your best players aren't seen in your biggest moments. So like we got to get some of those moments from Mike, because like I think that's the only thing missing from his resume. And I know baseball is the one sport where you can rack up MVPs on a bad team because it's such a difficult sport to play, and the writers recognize that. But I think right now we need to see him, in the playoffs. But I think as far as my center field is Mike Trout.
Yeah, he's a great dude, and the Angels played the Rangers earlier this week, man, and just like walking by him, like it's still surreal. Like you're Mike Trout, man. He's playing like an MVP this year. I think he's one of the front runners, probably top two for my American League votes right now. But I'm gonna give you my three guys, and since this is
can I just real quick, because when you talk about Trout, the thing that gets me for him is like, Ted Williams went his whole career, never made the postseason, and became a legend because of that. For Trout, it just the conversation can't be the same because because baseball has expanded the playoffs and you've had these opportunities. And I think that's the one thing is people want to see. And it's the thing that, we talked about Barry Bonds for so long when Barry was racking up MVPs, but wasn't getting deep in the playoffs, right, wasn't getting to the World Series. It was like, can you ever carry a team to that moment? And I think that's what people want to see, because to me, Mike Trout is the most known unknown. Like nobody knows who Mike Trout is outside of baseball people. Like he's still not a household name, and he has to get to the playoffs to be that. Your mom knows who Jose Altuve is. You know what I'm saying? Because he's been around in the playoffs. You've seen him, and it's a little dude. If Mike Trout gets in that spot, you telling me America's not going to embrace a corn-fed, you know what I'm saying, white boy
from Pennsylvania? Like, come on, bro. Like, yeah.
I mean, like that's the hero they've been waiting for, and you can't get this dude in the postseason.
Yeah, no, it's insane. Like one of my friends, we got a joke. We said, bro, we could be sitting in here right now, and Mike Trout could walk into this bar and nobody would know who he was. They would think he was just a regular white guy, got off work, coming to have a drink. They would have no clue who he is, and that's sad. That's sad.
In baseball, where you can see people's faces. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like if Aaron Judge walks in, I know he's 6'7", but I'm going to know that's Aaron Judge. When Ken Griffey Jr. was at the height of his fame, I'm going to know Ken Griffey Jr. walked in the game. If Barry Bonds walked in the building, he's there. Mike Trout is anonymous, not just in baseball, but he's anonymous in America. And that's just that you cannot, the best player in your sport. Where else does that happen? We know who the best soccer players are, and I'm not a soccer fan in that way, but
best hockey. I know Sid the Kid and Alex Ovechkin.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I know who those people are. If I saw them, I'd recognize them. Most Americans, you could put Mike Trout, he could stand right next to them and they wouldn't know he was there.
And I gotta respect the OG for putting us on game. I never knew Ted Williams didn't make the playoffs, so I hope that narrative does change for Trout. But let me give you guys my three real quick. And since this is a one game, this is a one season. I decided to play this season in Coors Field. I'm gonna go with CJ Cron. 329 average, 11 home runs, 32 RBIs this year. He hit one of the deepest home runs I've ever seen earlier this season in the first series against the Texas Rangers. He's been a consistent big league guy. He was a member of those Angels teams with Mike Trout that weren't able to make the playoffs. He got to Colorado last season. He's hitting big time shots. I don't know if people realize, but Chris Bryant has 0 home runs this season. So at least, and there is no Trevor Story this year. Rockies are searching for that guy. he's their dude right now. I know the NL West is tough, but he's gonna get all-star considerations, and I think he's gonna be in Los Angeles this season. Another guy I want to give a shout out to. I gotta give love to the Rangers, and he's a guy who he hasn't even got a chance to be a full-time catcher. Jonah Heim, 6'5" catcher, 5 for 5, 7 RBIs, 2 home runs against Shohei Ohtani. He's gone off against him twice. He's a big-time switch hitter, clutch, leading the team in average. But he just hasn't. He's always been the split catcher type. Definitely a guy that they need to get in the lineup more. As here's his grand slam early this season off Ohtani. Oh yeah. Also has a few walk-off home runs to his name. Next, my last guy, I got to go with the dude who I think is neck and neck with Mike Trout for that MVP this season, Aaron Judge. I've written on my notes, GOAT, he's the MVP right now because it's simple. He's leading the league in home runs, all the exit velocity stats. He's on the best team in baseball. He's earning all that big time money. He's going to be in Los Angeles at the All-Star game. And to me, along with those guys, you say like Betts and Trout, I think he's I think it's hard for me to give you 5 people better than Aaron Judge.
When he's on, I mean, with Judge, that's the thing. It's like when dude is on, there aren't more devastating. You can't really. There's no more devastating hitter because I mean he just hits ropes after rope. You know what I mean? Like they just get out and they rise on the way to the fence, and it's crazy how many RBI he can pick up, how many home runs he can pick up in a short amount of time, and quite frankly, there are times with the Yankees. We've seen it. I think I did a story on him last year for MLB Bro, and he talked about it. When he hits a home run, they win at an insane rate. It's just it's just not even comparable to what they do when he doesn't. And no matter how good Stanton plays, no matter how good LeMahieu is, no matter how good anybody else is, when Judge is on, the Yankees are almost impossible to beat.
Yeah, and also like, bro, one thing I really love is like he's really good defensively. Like, and one thing a lot of people don't talk about is kind of like when people talk about basketball, we say, we don't want to see 7-footers in the dunk contest because it's not as cool. Like, I think the fact he's such a tall outfielder, a lot of people don't really notice like how good he is defensively. And so when you couple that with the fact, like you said, when he's on and he's one of the best hitters in baseball, you talk about, he's the MVP package. And, he lost he was second MVP voting. I forgot which year that was. I think it was 2017.
Yeah, was that rookie season.
Yeah, but yeah, he was second MVP voting. But I think this year, I agree. Like, I think he's definitely going to be in that top 3 race the entire season, and I wouldn't be surprised if he won it. But like, bro, when you combine what he does offensively and defensively, like I wrote about this week, Cashman, I don't know why you try to barter with this man. Like, pay him what he wants. Like, every stat Grubb just mentioned, bro. If this person is that much of an asset to your team, how do you not? Okay, we're gonna lock you in. Like, Aaron Judge should be a Yankee for life, bro. Like
I mean, you could work on the years and whatnot, and you could make it higher for shorter years and get that man his money. Because I mean, the thing with him is always gonna be his health. Can he get to 140 games? Can he get you 135 games a year? That's always gonna be the question for Aaron.
Yeah.
And I think this year too, the one question you're looking for is, does he avoid that cold month? You know what I mean? Like last year, he went through that stretch where it was just like he wasn't hitting nothing. And then he got hot again towards the latter stages of the year. But
he was the only one hot on the team.
Right. And he was just carrying that lineup. But he can't have those long dips where his average drops back down in the 260 range because he's never been a guy who walks a ton. So he's got to keep that average in the 280s. That's where he needs to stay. I don't think he'll ever be a 320 guy, but if he's hitting the high 280s, low 290s on a consistent basis, that's where he can stay.
Yes, sir. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and say our team will go about 162-0. No days off on the field for us. We'll just rotate that DH spot. But I appreciate you for joining us, Dave. Real quick, let people know where they can reach you at on social media.
Yeah, at DM Grubb on Instagram and Twitter. And then check out my podcast, Hard in the Paint with David Grubb, wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes, sir, man. Appreciate you for having you, and we'll see you here very soon.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a good one now.
All right, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now I want to move on to our final segment of the day, live from the ballpark. Both our teams were on the road this week, but we had our guys out of the DMV area, Charles and Mark, get to do something real cool. They got an exclusive interview with Carl Edwards Jr. He got some big outs for the Cubs back during their, what was that, 2015 World Series? 2016 World Series. I believe he got the final out for that World Series, if I'm not mistaken. But
he did.
Spent some time in the minor leagues. But here's the video. Here's his live from the ballpark.
.com. Take that from MLBBro.com.
The Washington Nationals called up reliever Carl Edwards Jr. from Rochester on May 10th to help a pitching staff that has an ERA approaching 5. Edwards dominated AAA in 13 games with a .63 ERA and 17 strikeouts over 14 and a third innings.
Mets got the right guy up. And McNeil shoots one down to first.
Edwards'
It gets
first
by
appearance
Bell.
was not a memorable one, where Edwards allowed 3 runs on 3 hits in an inning, walked 1, and had 2 strikeouts. However, Edwards did bounce back, only allowing 1 hit over his next 4 innings pitched, and struck out 2 batters and allowed no free passes. The 8-year veteran pitcher kept himself sane in AAA with video games. And yes, folks, athletes are gamers too. In his rotation are the classics that most know about. Edwards plays Call of Duty and loves Fortnite with his kids. But against his bros back home, MLB Show is the way to go.
And then I just got the show, and I just been playing the show. I play the show. I like to play the show just for fun because I play against my best friends back home, and they always like, bro, like you pitch so good. I say, yeah, bro, I do it for a living.
And that's a simple question. Why doesn't Major League Baseball use MLB The Show to kick the truth to the young black youth? Other sporting franchises such as FIFA for soccer, Madden for football, 2K for basketball, all do an amazing job of marketing their sport. This is where Major League Baseball needs to take that franchise, known as MLB The Show, and use it to promote its game to black youth and let them know that baseball can be fun too.
And once again, that was Take That with your boy Charles Younger here on MLBBro.com. MLBBro.com, covering black and brown major leagues.
That was great stuff from my boy Charles. I mean, definitely need some more pieces like that. And it's a lot of dudes. Trust me, it's a lot of dudes just getting to talk to these players that they play in MLB The Show. I know a lot of Rangers dudes. They're playing the NHL games, the Battlefield, Call of Duty, all that. It's a way for everybody to stay connected. But Dante, we've come to the end of another episode, the High and Outside podcast, episode 8. We'll have this out for you on SoundCloud and YouTube. What's some things that you're looking forward to coming this next week?
Braves are back in town. They play the Phillies. They opening up a set this week, tomorrow actually. And, Travis Ramirez has actually played really well at home. So I'm gonna get out to a game. I'm gonna try to probably get out to game 2 and 3. Try to talk to bro. Like I told you last time they were here, I got had a good conversation with Ron Washington. So I'll probably run up on him again, ask him about the road trip, just the whole vibe of the team. Report back as usual. So looking forward to it.
Yes, sir. And I'm gonna put the over on 2.5 Bryce Harper home runs during this series. I think he gets the over. Took a few days off, but that man's on something else right now, doing it all with a torn ACL. But again, I want to appreciate David Grubb for joining us. Shout out Ray in the back for getting everything all together. But again, this is the High and Outside podcast. We'll see you again next Sunday live at 7:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central Time, 8:30 Eastern.
Watch High and Outside with Malik Wright and Dante Miles every Sunday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on Facebook Live. MLBBro.com, covering black and brown major leagues.